Traveling by night more than doubles your chances of survival, if you can conquer the fear and that sense of isolation that comes with the darkness. Anything could be out there, and you need to use all your senses to make sure you're not stepping into danger.
Takes about 45 minutes to get your night vision, but when it does come, especially with a full moon like this, it's almost like walking in daylight.
Walk with a heavy footfall, so the vibrations let any snakes know that you're around. Hopefully, they'll get out of your way. But even if you avoid the creepy crawlies, you won't make it very far without water and food. Coming up, some cool tactics for satisfying those basic needs. It's one of the fundamentals of survival. Without water, you're gonna die. Even in the cold weather, you need at least half a gallon of water a day to keep you from getting dehydrated.
The difficulty is, there's just no running water up here. And the only way I've ever been able to do this is just when I'm walking along, keep just stuffing snow into my water bottle like this. And just stuff it up my jacket where it's nice and warm and let that melt.
It's tempting to eat the snow, but that would cool your core body temperature even further. There's water at the bottom of this gorge, but to be sure it's drinkable, you first have to find out where it's come from.
All I've got to do is just keep following the stream up here, and this is the source of it.
The spring water is filtered through the rocks to emerge clean. That means it doesn't even need to be boiled. Especially in a hot climate, you've got to keep drinking. But first you need to separate the swamp water from all the rotting debris.
Get it like this. Make it into like a sack. And see, this water's now coming out all nice and clear. That's what I'm trying to keep out of my water bottle.
The water now looks clear, but it still contains parasites and bacteria, so always boil it. In the desert, you can lose nearly a litre of water an hour. If you don't drink, you don't have a hope. You need water whenever and wherever you can get it. Search for low-lying places where water might have pooled during a rainstorm. Then start digging.
Even to find this sort of stuff, cool, pretty moist sand, is a real result. And maybe wrap that up and then just start to wring it.
When your life's on the line, you can't afford to be picky about where your water comes from, even if it's a camel's carcass.
And the bit I want is called the rumen, where it keeps the fluids. Look at that, that's amazing.
And if water can't be found, you can actually drink your own pee.
God, there's no getting away from it. That really is pretty horrible. It's like warm and it's salty. Not my favourite.
Urine is actually 95% water, but only drink it when it's fresh. Wait too long and it becomes a breeding ground for bacteria. It's the people who push the limits who stand the best chance of survival, and desperate times call for desperate measures.
One thing you can do is actually drink the fluid from a fresh elephant dung. Pretty disgusting, but it could save your life. Not one of the better drinks I've ever had.
You can go longer without food than you can without water. But food equals energy, and if you're able to keep yourself nourished, you'll have a much better chance of survival. Many times the choices aren't that bad after all, like these mussels I dug up in Alaska. With no pan to cook them in, I've surrounded the mussels with 2 layers of seaweed.
This effectively like steams them. And this should take about 10 minutes to cook. Wow, those really are good.
At other times, you're faced with less appetizing and more primitive options.
Look at this. Dead zebra. There's definitely a lion kill.
There could be some good leftovers here, provided the meat isn't rotten. Vultures are a good sign, as they'll only eat fresh meat. Check also for maggots. The lack of maggots tells me that this kill is hours rather than days old. And if the carcass smells rotten, then move on. But this meat is fresh and an excellent source of protein. Cooking meat is safer,
And you won't get a better looking steak than that.
and turns this camel meat into a rare desert feast. Fresh fish is a welcome food source. When you don't have a fishing line and hooks in your pocket, you can try trapping the fish.
What I'm going to do is see if I can dam this little bit of stream lower down and also then upstream and see if I can get them.
The dams will stop the fish escaping, but always build the lower one first. They'll find it harder to spot you. Stay out of sight as you move upstream, and once your next dam is built, you're ready to go fishing. Other helpful fishing tools are a spear made from wood
A little bit of
and a makeshift
sapling I've
net.
got. And all I need to do is bend this round and then tie it and put my shirt over it. And then you're ready for a bit of fishing.
You'll need something for bait. I'm using termites.
Okay, just come above my net. It's all about being patient. I'm notoriously impatient.
A long piece of string is all that's needed to catch small game.
One thing I did notice was a lot of animal tracks, and especially hares.
If I can make snares for my parachute lines, I've got a chance of catching some food.
And all I need to do is make like a bite in one end, just a really simple overhand knot that gives you that really nice simple little loop. And then I just thread the other end through that. When it comes under pressure, it tightens on itself. And I'm also gonna take one of these and just smear the scent of the cowpat all the way over my hands. All any animal's gonna smell is cowpat and not human.
Survival is all about learning to live off what you're able to find in the wild and having the nerve to put it in your mouth.
I've got my piranha that I've caught. Yeah, those are those nasty teeth grinning away at me. There's some maggots feeding off this. That is like the freshest Alaskan salmon. I love sushi. This eyeball is going to be okay to eat. That's all good to eat. Never eaten raw goat's testicles before.
Coming up, finding shelter in the most extreme places on Earth. In extreme environments, you'll increase your odds of survival if you can find or create shelter. I'm on a glacier in Iceland. A blizzard has come in, night is falling, and your priority is to find a safe haven.
When the wind blows over these sort of ridges, if you look up here, it builds up a load of snow on the leeward side of it, on the side out of the wind. And I can use that snow then to dig into and create like a little snow cave.
Try not to overexert yourself as you work. If you work up a sweat, it can freeze on your body and hypothermia will come on twice as fast.
Well, the next thing I need to do is dig a little bit of a pit down. And the reason I do that is that cold air sinks. So I don't want this cold air around me. I want it to go down into what they call a cold well down here.
It's tempting to seal the entrance completely to keep the wind out, but that can be lethal.
I need to make sure, keep putting my hand through, keep that ventilation hole. Otherwise you can suffocate in these things.
The branch of this fallen tree can act as a backbone for a half-dome shelter. It's the best shape as it has no corners. The air keeps circulating and that will keep you warm.
Then all I then need is a load of pine boughs just to drape over the top of this.
Thick pine branches provide insulation and waterproofing.
It just gives it a bit of strength. One thing I can do to cool myself down even more is just dig down into the sand and make like a trench to lie in. And actually, if you just dig down just literally half a foot, it can be up to 60 degrees cooler. Suddenly there's a real difference in the temperature of the sand. You know, this stuff is roasting. This is cooler, but this is significantly cooler. When you're making shelter, one of your most important goals must be just to try and raise yourself up off the jungle floor. Because the last thing you want to do is have to share your bed with all of the snakes and scorpions and ants. And these two trees would be a pretty good place, about the right distance apart, to make a hammock. And the first thing you need to do is make like 2 crosses at each end that's going to support the hammock. And you can just use a bit of bark that will act as good lashing and tie these tight. And that then is going to be the outer frame of the hammock. And then interweave cross ones all the way the length of this.
And hopefully this will take my weight.
One little snap, but that's not too bad.
Getting out of the swamp at nightfall is absolutely vital if you don't want to be an alligator's late night snack.
And what I can do is, if I find a few more uprights like this, lash one like that, and then another one here, and then lay some branches along it. That will lift me up out of the water.
Construct a base to sleep on. It should be longer than your body and wide enough that you won't roll off. Ideally, pick straight timbers and remove the offshoots.
And I just need a load of these across here, and this will make a good platform.
Once you've built a shelter, your next priority is to build a fire. It will help keep predators away and also dry your clothes. But to light it, I need to find some tinder.
This stuff is great. It's really dry and stays pretty dry even when it's been raining. To this.
The key to turning that spark into flame is a well-prepared tinder bundle.
I want to really break this up and get it really light and fluffy, and it's this that I'm eventually going to tip the embers into here to try and get the flame going.
Once you've started the fire, you'll need kindling to keep it going. And wood is not the only thing that burns well.
Okay, come on then. Oh, tell you what, the fumes of elephant dung is really not nice.
A flint is the ideal tool to light a fire, and I always try and carry one with me.
Put the flint right down low, and as I strike it, I'm blasting all that spark straight into it. And look, first time.
But if you don't have a flint, the old-fashioned spindle method can do the trick.
And that's going to be my base. And then out of this, just make like a spindle.
Smooth off the spindle, nick a hole at the base, and start spinning to generate heat.
And once it's smoked like this, I need to just keep it going for a couple more goes. And then I'll have a coal. You can see it just coming out of the notch there. Here we go, smoking. Put that straight into the bundle.